There is this comforting platitude that people just love to throw around when something terrible happens.
Right, the whole time heals all wounds.
Exactly. They say time heals all wounds, and it's meant to be soothing. I get that. But if you actually look at the history of crime,
Oh, it's a completely different story.
totally. If you really dig into these cold cases that haunt small towns, you realize time is not a healer at all.
No, not in this line of
Well, there
work.
you go.
In forensics and criminal psychology, time is, well, it's a pressure cooker.
Exactly. It's a truth teller. You can bury a secret. You can construct this perfect lie and play a role for 10, 20, even 30 years.
But time allows technology to catch up.
Yes, it allows technology to catch up with human behavior, and eventually the ground just spits the truth back out.
That is a very vivid way to put it, but
Yeah.
it's incredibly accurate. And we are actually looking at two cases today that prove that exact point.
Two very different cases, too.
Right, both from the late 1980s that recently just blew wide open, and on the surface they couldn't be more different. One is this really intense domestic nightmare inside a family home in South Carolina.
And the other is a serial predator stalking a highway in Virginia.
But the connecting tissue here, the common thread, is the concept of the mask.
The disguises that killers wear to blend in.
Exactly. In one case, the mask was this frantic, tear-filled performance for the cameras. And the other, the mask was just, it was banality. The sheer boredom of being an ordinary local guy.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just recounting the who, because, spoiler alert, we actually have the names now.
Right. The mysteries of the identities are solved.
We want to understand the how. How did they pull off the deception for decades? And specifically, what were the scientific breakthroughs that finally shattered those disguises?
You are really going to see a clash here between 1980s police instinct and 2020's hard science.
It's fascinating. So let's set the board. We're going to start in South Carolina. I want you to rewind the clock to March 3rd, 1989. Picture a rural property in a place called Monk's Corner. It's a chaotic scene. You've got neighbors beating the bushes, police dogs barking helicopters.
And right in the middle of all of it, the news crews.
Yes, the news crews are essential here.
We really have to emphasize their role because this is 1989. There is no social media, no iPhones. The local news camera, that big, heavy, shoulder-mounted, unblinking eye, was basically the only record of reality.
And on this particular day, that lens was focused tight on the Turner family, specifically Victor Turner and the stepmother, Megan.
Right, because they had just told the police that their 5-year-old son, Justin Lee Turner, never got off the school bus.
That was the narrative, the empty seat on the bus.
It is a primal fear for any parent. It mobilizes a community instantly because everyone is terrified there is a stranger snatching kids off the street.
But while the volunteers are out searching the woods, the camera catches something much closer to home. And this is the moment that defines this entire case.
It really is.
It's almost cinematic in how disturbing it is. There's this small camper on the Turner property, just sitting there unassuming. The search moves toward it. And Victor Turner, the father, goes inside.
He is in there for seconds. Just seconds.
Barely any time at all.
Then he steps back out into the daylight, and he delivers this line that sounds straight out of a movie script. He looks at the people gathered and says, "My son's in there. Somebody's hurt him."
Somebody's hurt him. Not Justin is dead. Not call an ambulance.
No, just that vague, passive phrasing.
And then the camera captures the aftermath. We see Victor sitting on the porch. His head is buried in his hands. His body is shaking.
It was the absolute picture of devastation. And for over 30 years, that image served as his shield.
His mask.
Exactly, his mask. When you see a father broken on his front porch, your instinct, socially and biologically, is to offer comfort, not handcuffs.
Right, you want to help him.
It creates a cognitive dissonance that is very, very hard for investigators to break through.
It effectively paralyzed the public perception. We saw the grief, so we just assumed innocence. But let's fast forward. We're skipping 30 years of silence and jumping to 2021 and 2023.
When Sheriff S. Dwayne Lewis decides to reopen the file.
Yes. And when they started pulling at the threads of that day in 1989, the whole tapestry just unraveled.
It started with the timeline. That whole bus story.
Yeah.
It was a complete fabrication. Investigators went back and found witnesses, people who were actually there.
Yeah.
And they confirmed Justin was marked absent.
Wow.
He never got on the bus. He never went to school that day at all.
So the inciting incident, the absolute foundation of their alibi, was a lie from minute one.
Exactly. But the behavioral analysis of that camper video is where it gets really dark. When the cold case unit looked at that footage again, without that lens of sympathy, They noticed the cracks in the performance.
It goes back to what he did inside the camper, right?
Right. Just think about it.
Yeah.
You are a parent.
Yeah.
You walk into a camper and find your 5-year-old lying there. What do you do?
I mean, I'm panicking. I'm grabbing him. I'm checking for breath, shaking him, screaming for a medic.
Yes.
I am definitely not walking out calmly to deliver a one-liner.
Precisely. You check for a pulse. You try CPR. You hold your child.
Mm-hmm.
But Victor, he admitted to investigators later he looked dead. I did not touch him.
It's just chilling. I did not touch him.
It's pure detachment.
Yeah.
And that detachment stands in such violent contrast to the man sobbing on the porch 5 minutes later.
So the porch scene was for the audience.
It suggests the porch scene was for the cameras, yeah.
Yeah.
But the reaction in the camper, that was the reality. He didn't need to check if the boy was dead because he already knew.
There's another behavioral tell here that I found absolutely infuriating, and it circles back to our theme of time. Usually when a child's murder goes unsolved, the parents are the loudest people in the room.
Oh, they never let the police rest.
Yeah.
They are relentless.
Right. They call on birthdays, on anniversaries. They demand answers.
But Victor and Megan, after the funeral, they moved away. They left the community. And Sheriff Lewis made a specific point to mention this. In more than 30 years, they never called the police to ask for an update.
Not once.
Not a single time.
That silence speaks volumes. It's almost like they were just holding their breath, hoping everyone would forget.
They were banking on the apathy of time. They thought if they stayed quiet, the file would stay closed.
But silence isn't a confession. You can't convict someone for not making a phone call. So how did they finally get them? Because behavioral red flags are great to talk about, but they don't hold up in court without evidence.
Well, this is where we have to give a lot of credit to the forensic techs back in 1989. They might not have had the tools to analyze the evidence, but they had the foresight to preserve it.
They bagged the clothes.
Yes, and specifically, they preserved the shirt Justin was wearing.
And this leads us to the big breakthrough here. Fiber analysis. Now, I feel like we hear about this on TV procedurals all the time, but explain what it actually means in a cold case context.
Okay, so Locard's exchange principle says that every contact leaves a trace. If I grab your shirt, microscopic fibers from my sweater transfer to you and vice versa.
Makes sense.
In 1989, matching those fibers was incredibly difficult and often inconclusive. But today, we have high-powered microscopy, chemical analysis of dyes, polymer structuring.
So they can tell not just that it's a red fiber, but exactly what red fiber.
Exactly. They found fibers on Justin's shirt, specifically around the collar area, that matched a ligature found inside the Turner home.
A ligature. And we should clarify, the cause of death here was strangulation.
Yes, a tragic, horrendous murder, as the sheriff called it. Justin was choked. And that physical link, that microscopic thread connecting the weapon in the house to the boy's body, that is science reaching across 3 decades to point the finger.
It really is amazing. You think about Victor and Megan. They lived a whole life. They aged into their 60s. They probably sat at their breakfast table thinking they had gotten away with it.
I'm sure they did.
But that microscopic fiber was just sitting in an evidence locker, waiting for the technology to be invented.
And waiting for a sheriff who refused to let it go. It brings justice, finally, for Justin. But it forces us to look back at that news footage with a completely different perspective.
The monster wasn't a stranger.
No, it was the people who were supposed to be his protectors.
It's the enemy within. Such a terrifying thought. But now I want to pivot.
Okay.
We're going to leave the domestic setting and go to a place where the danger wasn't in the home. It was waiting in the dark. We are heading to Virginia.
The Colonial Parkway.
Just the name gives me goosebumps. If you follow true crime at all, this is one of the big ones.
It is legendary. The Colonial Parkway murders.
Yeah.
This is a 23-mile scenic stretch connecting Jamestown, Williamsburg, and Yorktown.
Beautiful during the day, but pitch black at night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Between 1986 and 1989, there were 4 double homicides there. 8 victims total.
And the fear at the time was just palpable. People thought there was a single phantom serial killer hunting couples who were parked in their cars.
Right. And for decades, just like the Turner case, this was a wall of silence. Theories, but no names. Until recently. We got a massive break in one of these double homicides.
The murder of David Lee Nobling and Robin Margaret Edwards in September 1987.
Yes. Let's look at that specific night. David was 20. Robin was just 14. And the way their vehicle was found really paints a picture of how sudden this was.
It's a haunting scene. A park ranger found David's truck at the Ragged Island Wildlife Management area. The driver's door was open. The keys were still in the ignition.
And this is the detail that sticks with me.
The radio.
The radio was still playing.
The radio playing to an empty car, it's like a soundtrack to a disappearance. It tells you that life was interrupted in a split second.
Exactly. It signals an immediate forced departure. Nobody leaves their truck like that willingly.
No. And days later, their bodies were found in the woods nearby. Both had been shot, and Robin had been sexually assaulted.
And the police immediately link this to an earlier crime.
Right, 11 months prior.
Yes. Rebecca Dowski and Kathy Thomas were killed in a remarkably similar way, taken from a car killed left in the woods. So the community is thinking, we have a monster, we have a predator, but who is he?
And this is where the second mask comes in, because the DNA analysis finally gave us a name. Alan Wade Wilmer Sr. And when they looked at who this guy was, he wasn't what people expected at all.
No, he wasn't a drifter, he wasn't hiding out in the swamps, he was a local guy. And that is almost scarier.
Let's unpack his mask. Because unlike Victor Turner, who had to perform grief, Wilmer's mask was just existence.
His mask was his normalcy. He was a fisherman. He ran a commercial fishing boat called the Denny Wade. He was a hunter. He owned a local tree service business.
He was just woven into the community.
Completely woven into the economic and social fabric.
He even had a harmless nickname. Pokey.
Right, Pokey. It sounds like a character from a children's book.
It really does.
It sounds like the guy you wave to when you're buying bait. And that was his camouflage. He drove a blue 1966 Dodge Fargo pickup truck. The sources mentioned this vehicle blended perfectly into Virginia life.
That's the key, isn't it? If you're parked on a lover's lane and a blue pickup pulls up with a guy in work boots, you don't immediately think serial killer.
No, you think, oh, that's just a fisherman checking the tide.
Precisely. He used the assumption of safety that comes with the working class aesthetic. He didn't need to act innocent. He just looked like he belonged there. He hid in the open.
But beneath that veneer of the hardworking Pokey, he was a predator.
He was. And the DNA didn't just link him to Nobling and Edwards, did it?
No. Once they had his genetic profile, which they had to get through modern familial DNA searching because he wasn't in the criminal database initially, they linked him to a 1989 murder of a woman named Teresa Howell.
No, this was a different MO, though, wasn't it?
Slightly, yes. Teresa was 29. She was last seen outside a nightclub called the Zodiac Club. Her body was found at a construction site.
But geographically?
Geographically, it was just 11 miles from where the Parkway victims were found. It shows he was operating in a very tight radius. He was hunting in his own backyard.
So the web expands. But here is the bitter twist that we have to deal with in this deep dive. We have the name, we have the DNA match, but we don't have the man.
No. Alan Wade Wilmer Sr. died in 2017.
That is incredibly frustrating.
It's a very complicated form of closure. We know who. Law enforcement can look the families in the eye and say, this is the man who took your children.
But he'll never see a courtroom.
We can never put him on the stand. We can never ask him why. We can never ask him how many others there were.
And because he had no prior criminal record, he essentially lived his entire life free. He died a free man.
He escaped the jail cell.
Yes.
But I think it's important to frame it this way. He didn't escape the truth. His legacy isn't Pookie the fisherman anymore.
That's true.
His legacy is recorded in history as a serial killer and a rapist. The mask has been ripped off, even if it's from the grave.
That is a valid point. History gets the final word. And the investigation isn't actually over, is it? The FBI is still digging.
And they are actively digging, and this is crucial for anyone listening. The FBI is asking for information about Wilmer. They want people to think back to the 80s.
Did you see that blue Dodge Fargo truck?
Exactly. Did you see the boat? The Denny Wade?
Because they suspect there are more victims.
You don't usually start killing with a double homicide and then just stop. They are looking at the other Colonial Parkway murders to see if Wilmer is the key to the whole tragedy.
So let's bring this all together. We have these two cases, Victor Turner and Alan Wade Wilmer, two very different types of monsters.
It's a fascinating comparison of deception. Victor Turner's mask was active. He used the unblinking eye of the media to project a lie.
He hid in the spotlight, daring people to question his grief.
Whereas Wilmer used the invisibility of being a local.
He hid in the blind spots of society. He was the furniture, the background character that nobody suspects.
And in both cases, human intuition failed us. The police believed the crying father. The community accepted the fisherman. What succeeded, what actually brought the truth to light, was the hard science.
The unblinking eye of the microscope, if you will. Fibers in South Carolina. Genetic markers in Virginia.
These are things that criminals in the 80s couldn't possibly account for. They could wipe fingerprints, they could wash away blood. But they couldn't scrub their DNA from a scene or pick every microscopic polymer off a shirt.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other perfect crimes from that era are just sitting there in evidence boxes waiting for the right algorithm or the right lens to unlock them?
I think that's the hopeful takeaway here. The files weren't closed. Sheriff Lewis, the FBI, they refused to let the silence win. They respected the victims enough to keep the evidence safe, waiting for the science to catch up.
It's a powerful reminder that while justice can be delayed, the truth is incredibly stubborn.
It eventually surfaces. It always does.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought that actually came from the FBI's press release on Wilmer. It's something that has been stuck in my head all week.
The photos.
Yes, the photos. They asked people to look at the background of their old pictures.
Right. We all have those old albums, Polaroids from the 80s, a picnic a day at the beach. We looked at the faces of our family. But the FBI is saying, look past that.
Look at the background.
Yeah.
Is there a blue truck parked on the street? Is there a fishing boat called the Denny Wade tied up at the dock behind you?
We treat those things as just scenery, just the texture of the past. But for someone like Wilmer, those ordinary objects were tools of the trade.
They were the instruments of a monster.
It's a chilling thought. You could be scrolling through a nostalgic photo album and realize that a serial killer was hiding in plain sight right there in the frame while you were smiling for the camera.
It definitely changes how you look at the past. It makes the shadows feel a little bit deeper.
Well, on that slightly terrifying note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you for joining us as we shine a light into those shadows. Always a pleasure. Keep questioning what you see.
We will catch you on the next one. Stay curious.